knowledge do you have of it?
What kind of what?
A lot.
Of semen? What kind of knowledge?
Oh, an intimate knowledge of semen.
Massive.
Thank you, Brian.
intimate
Not a dead ass though.
From the north side of Racine, Wisconsin, it's the podcast that dared to dream a dream of a Dreamcast. It's Guys, Games, and Beer!
Yeah!
And today we are talking about the best and the worst of the Dreamcast. What we love about the Dreamcast, what we hate about the Dreamcast. And for the beginning of this episode, I'm gonna strip. Woo, baby!
Nice!
Yeah.
Keep going, come on.
That's all there.
I don't have any single bills.
I do. I got a fat stack.
That's okay, you guys can use 20s. Why don't we get started with a new segment? Beer of the day. Why don't you tell us?
We are doing show beers from now on. So what we want to do is we want to actually kind of share some Wisconsin beers with all of our viewers.
Because we come from a place, a land of many and great beers.
Yes, we do. And tonight we are going to start this whole new segment out with the game beer. Tonight is going to be from the Potosi Brewing Company in beautiful Potosi, Wisconsin. Now here's the cool thing about this brewing company is back in 2001 they became a non-profit. They literally give all their profits to charity. So anytime you drink,
So like Moses, straight to charity.
Thank you.
Let my
I
Exactly.
say we're pretty pitiful. They should take charity upon us.
Yeah, well, maybe they'll give us money for advertising their beers because actually they make some really good beers. We are trying something different tonight. It's called Snake Hollow. It's a Indian Pale Ale from Potosi Brewing. Let's see if it's any good, guys.
Wait.
Wait for Rob.
You don't need a bottle.
You don't need a bottle.
You don't.
there.
Hold on.
Well,
Come on,
I used to
Nancy.
look like a man.
Fuck.
Bad form, Brian. Bad form.
He used the F-bomb right on the show. Can you believe that?
And spilled the
That fucker.
Back in the day, I had to censor
Okay, I gotta say that's
that.
not bad.
I like
It's
it.
pretty good. And in fact, you know, if you're,
That's not bad.
it's kind of a lighter Indian
IPA.
Pale Ale.
Yeah, it
it's
is.
not quite so strong as some of them are.
Like
sack tapping you with hops.
Thank you. I don't need exactly. I don't need to have hops touching every bit of my body while I'm drinking a beer.
I'm
no,
kind of
that's actually good.
disappointed that there's no curry in it.
That's because it's an Indian Pale Ale.
What you did there,
so it really
I
should.
see it.
Yeah.
This is so good, I chose to wear it. All over me.
So yeah, no, I gotta say that's a winner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, guys,
It's a-
wait a minute. Let's
It's
do
a
it.
fairly. It's a
I'll give it a
straightforward
thumbs up. Yeah, I like it.
All right.
I like the reason.
You're gonna go about midway. All right.
Yeah,
All right.
it's
I'll
a
give it a thumbs up.
It's
I'm
a
rocking on.
straightforward pale ale. It doesn't bring.
it to be a drinkable.
It doesn't bring anything new to the table, but it does well.
Yeah.
I'm rocking a half club on the thumbs up.
Any profits go to charity. So drink
Which-
it,
yeah,
drink it
that-
just to donate to charity.
Which
we
is the
are
guy's
actually
wife,
all
by the way.
donating to charity right now.
That's
So all
awesome.
other things being equal,
Beer
why
by
not
beer.
buy something that's going to a good cause?
There you go. So
Wait. Is that the name of the segment? Beer by beer. Name of the segment. There we go.
Beer by beer.
No, we already got a tip to tip.
No?
yeah, we've done tip to tip. Why would you do beer to beer?
He said it.
All right.
Wow, nice way to throw him on
Dreamcast. What a dick.
Just because we don't
I
go with
have
it
a
doesn't mean it
Dreamcast.
wasn't a good idea.
I have
it's just
a
not for
Dreamcast. I
us.
would like I have a Dreamcast.
That
Oh,
Sega
okay.
would be making consoles.
Dreamcast. Let's start
Call
with.
me.
Should we start with Jonah? Do you
Start
wanna
with
say
Jonah.
anything?
No,
No, he's chickening
I'm
out.
eating my
He's hiding
ice
out back
cream.
there. Eating
It's not in my.
It's custard, not ice cream.
Kevin.
Anyways.
He would
What?
like to be involved with systems when he was born. That's the,
Hey, he was alive when the Dreamcast came out.
He was conceived.
Kevin.
Yes.
Dreamcast.
I mean, it was exciting. I mean, I don't know. For me, I suppose I just remember
Exciting time.
that was like that was the first thing more advanced than like a PlayStation ever had. And it was so like it was. Yes, I'm doing the hand thing. Damn it. I remember fucking Crazy Taxi on that shit. It was like my god. I mean, you know, it felt like the 90s. I mean, that was, you know, The Offspring, all that, you know.
1999.
Well, it did run arcade code. I mean,
Everything on the Dreamcast felt exciting. I don't know. I never really played a game that was just like wow, this is kind of boring and lame. It was like everything was just
even their shovelware at least tried to be exciting.
there was
like,
color.
It
and
was bad.
shit
Still. There were lots of
happening.
bad games.
You know, that is an interesting thing, though. You're right. It was all the games were very high color. I mean, they really did a lot of high contrast games. Lots of colors to pop. Give me a dark game on Dreamcast.
Vanishing Point.
That one weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
all right.
game.
Yeah.
All right, Shamu made
Sort of the Berserker.
Shamu.
Yeah.
Shamu.
Yeah.
Shamu, yeah.
Shamu.
And ShamWow, which was a really nice one with Vince.
And Shazam.
And the prostitutes.
There was Resident Evil Code Veronica,
Yes.
which originally came out on the Dreamcast, also pretty dark.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
There hasn't been any like bright and chipper Resident Evil games that I
It's like Viva Pinata.
Oh, no, no.
It's Resident Evil.
Yeah, I can't believe he mentioned Viva Pinata. But anyway, that was pretty good.
Near and dear.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the things that it did first was textures that you could actually recognize what the hell the texture was supposed to be. That was a big deal, man, because next to the PlayStation, which just took a bunch of gobbledygook stuff and threw it together, and yeah, that's dirt, you know?
The thing is like, I mean, the PlayStation had been on the market for a while there. PS2 was coming out. PS2 was coming out, but PlayStation at that time was pushing the limits of its console, and it was trying to push to be more realistic and make more realistic graphics. The Sega when the Sega Dreamcast came out, like it really just worked with the hardware that it had. Like a lot of the first party games.
The Genesis?
No, the Sega
The
Dreamcast.
Dreamcast.
I thought you said Genesis.
He did.
I started with
You did
Jet.
say Genesis.
I said Sega Jet. I meant Dreamcast.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, but anyway, the Dreamcast. I mean, basically, I mean, if you think of things like Jet Set Radio, they did cell shading, and they did a lot of that. That was like the first console to really like come up with all these like cell shaded games and like a lot of first party titles.
Well, it had a real 3D engine in it.
Yeah, a real
which,
3D engine,
which
and
the PlayStation one did not have.
that's just one example of them using like they kind of cheated the graphics to make things still pop and look good with the limitations they had, and I really respected that. The other big thing is, and like I really wish this took off more, is it was the first like pre-packaged home console that had internet right off the box.
Yep.
Like there are plenty of other consoles. The Genesis had like an attachment where you can actually put it on the internet.
Super
Nintendo.
Super Nintendo, yeah. Like, but this
Yeah.
this was a big core part of the Dreamcast right out of the box, and like I don't think people were used to using it, and it was ahead of its time. I mean, like I remember, like as soon as Phantasy Star Online came out, like this was before, like just as MMOs were starting to hit their thing. Phantasy Star Online on the Dreamcast, man, was like a soul eater. This was like World of Warcraft soul eating huge. Like you can spend days on that game. You can interact with other people. Like it ran on a 56K modem, which is
No, I thought it was slower than that.
No, it was 56K, and it ran beautifully on a 56K mode.
yeah. I mean they took the limitations they had for being released in 1999, and they really pushed it pretty far.
And you know what? You bring up a very good point about how it was ahead of its time. I love the Dreamcast personally because it was ahead of its time. Look at every game console since then. I really think that the Dreamcast was the predecessor to the Xbox, at least spiritually, if you look at that.
Well, I heard Bill say that the other day. He was like,
I think he said yeah. Thanks, Sega.
Yeah, that's why.
I believe you just said that. Yeah.
and I think he followed it with going out of business. The
I was
Because Christ, you'd probably be on top of us too.
I was really
sorry.
lucky enough to like live in a household where I had a techie father who like had 2 phone lines, so I could
yeah, play the game.
play it. But I remember plenty of times going over to Ben's house, bringing my Dreamcast, disconnecting their home phone, and plugging in my Dreamcast to play all overnight. It was
Super.
No, and it had to be after a certain time, after the folks went to bed.
yeah after they were
No
getting-
one should be calling at this time.
And then Mom would pick up the phone at like 11.
Or if you had call waiting, and you got that stupid click in from call waiting, it would knock you offline.
Yeah, you forget to hit that star
69.
Yeah, star 69 code.
Speaking
That wasn't
of,
Star 69. That was callback.
Yeah, Star
that
69.
was
Yeah,
a
it's
wholly
star
different
something.
purpose.
Star 69 is hide call. Star 67 is call back. Yeah.
And then there was one that turned
I found
off.
it turned off.
There's touch tone
yeah,
codes.
8675309.
People don't use them anymore.
Yeah,
Okay,
whatever.
so
That's
all right,
genuine.
so that's his thing. What about you?
You don't have to go in a circle.
No, you're right. We don't
for
have to
this
go in a
one.
circle. Never
I think
mind.
it should be a fluid conversation.
It is a
Let's talk
fluid
about the
conversation.
controller, by the way.
Uh,
horribly designed.
No, it was not a horrible design.
It can't,
That board
it
comes
can't,
out of the bottom.
Let's just start talking.
Yeah, I do have to say.
Okay, let's talk
no, it
about.
changed.
All right, but compared to the N64 controller,
It changed.
was a lot better.
Yeah.
controller design for the next 20 years.
Correct.
What is an Xbox controller but a Dreamcast controller?
With the
long
cable
as
coming out of the other side.
It is absolutely.
And here's the thing that the
With
Dreamcast
added
did that
weight.
still has not been done as well. The VMU. The VMU part of their controller was freaking brilliant.
It was cool,
Kinda.
but it ended up being more of a gimmick than anything.
and the
They were-
battery always
they
ran
were-
out.
Yeah,
That was a bitch to
Nintendo-
replace.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Tiny,
You
tiny
literally
you didn't need the battery for while it was plugged in.
correct. And here in the
So-
States, they didn't take it as far as they did in Japan. In Japan, you could literally load your games, go to the arcade, stick your VMU in the
That's
machine,
right, and use the data.
and use the data.
Yeah,
And
but arcades here aren't as big as they are over there.
does
Well,
it?
and
But see,
I
this is
think
what
Not
Sega.
a Japanese
2000
company.
Yeah.
Right.
Originally released for Japanese
Market.
And there are things I totally love about the Dreamcast, but I'm gonna be a little counter. There's a reason it died. And I think the reason was it was a very Asian system. The games that came out were very
Racist.
Asian, and I don't think the American audience was ready for that.
No, I think some of the games that came out.
You know,
I
and
know.
they were
I
very
think you'll find-
unattainable. You know,
I
like
think you'll find that the majority of the titles really were
They were-
American titles. They weren't Asian.
No. It was pretty. There were. It covered a lot of
Soul
niches.
Calibur?
It covered a lot of niches, but they were a lot of niche titles. I think that with. Unfortunately, you think about how the world was in 1999. The internet wasn't as big as it was then. The communication, like if the Dreamcast, something like the Dreamcast landed today, it would do pretty well because the games people were niching about, were really passionate about. They could talk to other people they could connect with.
Alien on
But
Online.
there were so I have an
Which is not
expansive
so
knowledge
weird.
of the Dreamcast collection and like all these really weird games that people have never heard about that I really think they like, and I've had people try stuff. They're like, oh my god, I never knew this existed. This is awesome. It's because that information was very hard to spread in 1999 to 2003.
But I think Seaman was a
But
very
that's
strange
marketing.
game.
That is not.
That was a big title for him.
That's
It's just a
it's not
strange game.
marketing.
But the thing is there's a lot of games that people will just be like, eh.
Well,
No. I mean,
They're weird. They took chances, but I mean,
that's not what killed the Dreamcast. It wasn't the weird games that killed
I
the
think
Dreamcast.
ultimately
too
killed
many
it with
It was
the
marketing.
PS2.
It was marketing.
Yeah, I agree. It was marketing.
It was
'cause I
marketing.
we were there. I mean, honestly, we were there. And what was happening was the buzz on the street was that the Dreamcast, the way they advertised it was as a home arcade.
Right.
And the problem was, in 2000, people were burned out on arcade. The arcade was a dying breed.
The second
And-
death.
Yeah,
of
and
the
the
arcade.
and the Dreamcast was the finest and last of the arcade game machines.
I would
There
agree
are
with that,
no
too.
arcade game machines.
Yeah.
Well, what
And
about
it was.
what about the 360 with Game Room? And that was
No.
sterling success.
Yeah, it did great.
Yeah, but it wasn't the core of their system. Even if
right,
you wanna throw that in as a serious topic,
No.
it's not the core of their system. An arcade system. Dreamcast was an arcade system. It was the core,
And it was the
then
last.
Things like
Ever.
RPGs and stuff were sort of add-ons. to
And
it.
that's
No,
why. And
no.
that's why you had.
Yeah,
But no,
there were some pretty.
Next to the PS2,
but if you
yeah.
look, if you
Yeah,
look
I
at the
mean-
titles that they pushed it with originally, and literally, this is the title. So at the time I was working for an ISP in Milwaukee. All the techs, literally, we bought a Dreamcast just to play one game. Soul
I could
Calibur.
sprain my drinking elbow.
Oh, whoa, that sounds pretty serious. So no,
That's a
we
serious
literally
injury.
went out and bought one for the break room because we had to have Soul Calibur in the break room. The reason, and Soul Calibur was brilliant at the arcades, did great at the arcades, and this port was a perfect port. In fact, now that's the other thing that comes into play. Sega also put these Dreamcasts, the industrial ones, inside video game systems that they shipped out to arcades. So there was.
It was literally arcade
It literally
hardware.
was an arcade piece of hardware. They had the home version. They also had an industrial version that they sent out to arcades.
Really?
Yeah, really.
I didn't know about
Oh,
that.
dude.
They
yes.
also had a parlor version. I think it was called the Mode
Parlor
7 or
version?
something
Yeah,
like that.
no. So, but they actually
it was like
there
an
was
adult
there was
version of it.
if you were an arcade owner at the time, you could buy a game that had basically a Dreamcast in it,
Yeah.
but more industrial hardware version of it, and then you'd pop in whatever disc, put up the tag artwork you want, and go.
Yeah,
That's
but the code
awesome.
was essentially the same. I
Oh, the
mean,
code was identical.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was.
Yeah.
The hardware was just different. Well,
Yeah,
slightly
better,
different,
a little
but, yeah.
more durable.
That, and it had to have
so
some
on.
kind of ability to collect money.
Right.
Yeah.
But again,
Oh, businesses want to make money?
it really was, like you said, it was the end of the arcade era coming in there. So most of their big titles, even Jet Grind Radio, which is a little bit, is more an arcadish feel on the game. I mean,
I think that's more of a stylization of the art that makes it feel like that. But
And I think that's
No, I think
also
it's
a
an
niche
arcade
title.
Well,
I
I
think
mean,
that's a
it
niche
was being
title,
developed
too.
by
It's
a
one of its
really
most
arcade.
famous
no, I don't
ones.
think so.
It was a very popular niche title, but yes, it's a very niche.
Really?
As a guy who is one of the stronger members in the Jet Grind Radio community, yes.
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
niche title. I mean, people loved it. It was like
It was
a
amazing.
huge.
It's
It was a hit for them.
culturally interesting. Yeah.
It was a hit for
and the
them, don't get me
soundtrack
wrong.
was freaking awesome.
Oh, I still have music from that I
Thank
listen
you.
to. Yeah.
I think it was kind of
It's like-
hard.
Love me. I love
Like
you.
PlayStation's Parappa the Rappa. You know what I
Oh
mean?
God, yes.
Kick,
You know?
punch, it's all in the mind. No, I gotta stop.
No,
There's some
stop
great
on it.
cult following to that, but,
Yeah.
you know.
And again,
But no, people loved it. It sold well.
But-
I mean, people did love the game.
you talk about the PlayStation and the Dreamcast. So here's something cool that this company got sued 6 ways to Sunday by Sony. So one thing you could do on the Dreamcast was they had the Bleamcast. So and this was an official product. Basically, it allowed you
That's
to
not
play
official.
Well,
That's
no,
official.
no, from the company that made it,
Yeah,
not the
but-
Sony.
yeah, but I mean, no, it
It
got
is a commercially released
It was a
product.
commercially released way to play
it
your
had a Sony logo when it
right
started up. Yeah.
to play your Dreamcast games on your play your PlayStation
Sony
games on your Dreamcast. Sony didn't find it as funny as we all did, and the worst part is. Well, not the worst part. The better part is, and you can't really see that from here, is it improved the graphics.
Yeah.
It had graphic enhancement, and so when you played a game on here, it would look better on the Dreamcast than it did on the PlayStation.
Now, interesting fact. Do you know what other system that was released for?
Bleamcast?
Yep.
The
Sega
Mac
Saturn.
systems. No, one of the Mac systems had the
Yes,
Bleamcast.
the Macintosh was the
Had the
other system.
Bleamcast.
It actually
Same thing. And
Yeah,
it
for a while
improved
they
the
were
quality of the
Both PC
PlayStation
and
games.
Mac.
they were
I don't
using
know the PC version.
Yeah,
of the Mac.
Yeah, there's definitely a
it
PC
was
version.
definitely
We
a
owned
P-
it.
PC
Okay.
Yes.
No, I'm sure we did. We
I
owned
played
everything.
Bushido Blade on it a couple times.
Yeah.
awesomeness.
So, but the way they did it too, which was interesting, is they had individual Bleamcast for each individual
yeah,
game.
which they didn't do on the Mac version. The Mac
Right.
version
So
was-
you had to actually like this one is the Gran Turismo version. This one is the Tekken 3 version.
Tekken 3.
Tekken 3 version. So you had to buy one because what they did is they wrote the code, the emulator code to optimize the game. So it was pretty darn
I
cool.
think
what
they
did.
actually did have
I
Sony's
wanna know, did they win
blessing.
the
I think they did have
lawsuit?
Oh, they
licensing.
lost the shit out of the lawsuit. They got their asses sued off. and
I
had to go
thought
out of
they
business.
I thought they had licensing for that.
Nope. They got their asses sued off and went out of business.
Way to go!
I would wonder why that would be. No, I mean, making
Well, that's
something
interesting.
else play on, you're
Because
not
Sony
copying that game.
Yes, but you are copying Sony's hardware code.
If they did.
Well, that was the argument. Sony was still selling hardware, remember, not just games. So
Yeah,
if
they copied
I
it.
don't have to buy a PlayStation and I can play all the games on the Dreamcast, that kind of defeats the purpose
Yeah,
of
it's like
Sony
how in the-
selling PlayStation.
It's like how in the modern day, like you have to do all sorts of sketchy stuff if you're trying to emulate a console. In this case of a PlayStation or PlayStation 2, you have to go to some sketchy ass site to actually get the BIOS. But the emulator is perfectly fine because that's all
because it
that's
doesn't
all.
contain any of the BIOS code. Exactly.
No, that is all
That's-
original code. But you have to then go,
Yes,
get
well,
the
this
dubiously
on the other
legal
hand,
portion.
this on
you
the other
gotta
hand
use
did
your-
have the BIOS.
Your
so-
virus isolated machine to go out and
Yeah. So again, but
So if it gets hacked
one
up,
of the
it's okay.
coolest things that they did on the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast had such potential. Again, I think it was strictly. I don't think it was the oddball games. I strictly think it was
I
marketing
don't
that
know.
killed it.
I swear.
Sega has the worst marketing. They've done that at every system they come out with. They come out
I
with these
think game
brilliant pieces
choices
of hardware,
are
and then
part
they
of
don't
that
market
marketing.
it.
Oh, I mean, I have to say that it's a contrast to the Genesis, which they blazingly marketed it. I mean,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the extreme in your face,
That was just the early '90s.
yeah, but see, but then when they what was it the 32-bit
The Genesis invented
Sega
shovelware.
Saturn.
the Saturn, and then they came out with the Saturn, and it was all downhill from there.
I think that possibly they would have survived if the Saturn never came out. Honestly, because the Dreamcast
Yeah.
did not do that bad.
I have to
The
agree.
problem is it didn't do well enough
to make
save
up after
Sega.
that Saturn.
They always point out, oh, Dreamcast put the nail in their coffin. It didn't. It sold really well. It did very well.
Right.
The problem is there was nothing saving Sega after the Saturn. It
Yeah,
really
Saturn
was
was
a
a
flop.
colossal flop.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
hurt. It was
And
a
if you
32
want to
hertz.
talk about one that was strictly an Asian
It was
system.
cool, but
Yeah.
it was
That
expensive.
was strictly an Asian system.
Yeah, what?
Limited on games.
Yeah.
It was.
Most of its good games were in 2D.
Yeah.
I played all the time, I know.
I genuinely don't know much about the Sega Saturn. What kind of hardware was in there? If you guys
Comparable
remember?
to your
PlayStation.
mid-90s era. No, I mean it'd be like the PlayStation
It was
era.
probably
Yeah,
a PlayStation
yeah.
1.5. You know, it was coming out a little after it, so it had a little more advanced and standard technology. But it was, it was around that PlayStation.
Grab one of these beers and see what you think.
And in fact, there was
Right
a
there on the
few
table.
cross titles that came out on
Back in those days?
came out on Saturn and also came out on
Yeah, the
PlayStation.
mech games,
Mech Warrior?
no.
Armored
That
Core.
didn't come out on it, but...
Oh,
Didn't
Armored Core.
D come out on
Yeah, right
both
there.
systems?
Oh boy, love that game.
Quiet
know
in
if
the
D
corner
did.
answering questions.
That might have been their exclusive. That might have been their only exclusive. That was.
Speaks
Well,
softly
Panzer
and
Dragoon.
words to-
Oh, wait. Oops. Anyway, yeah, we started talking about the Saturn. Well, we should do a show on the Saturn.
We really should do the show on
because
Saturn,
there's a lot of interesting stuff on the Saturn.
I got a bitch load of Saturn stuff
yeah,
too. So.
I'm a big collector of Saturn too. So, and I collect the odd.
Oh, well,
The
Saturn collecting
Dreamcast did
odd.
introduce. I know that there maybe sports games probably aren't the biggest hit around here, but
No, they had some
the
amazing
2K
sports game on it.
stuff
Yes.
was introduced with the Dreamcast, and you can
its
still
time
get
was some
that
of the best
brand.
That was some of the best sports games. I mean, like, Madden quality was okay at the time. The 2K sports stuff at the time was awesome.
No, yeah,
I guess
actually,
Yeah,
the
Larry,
early
for laughing at that.
2000s.
Comparatively, Madden stuff sucks compared to the two.
Yeah, no, those were actually the best time sports because there's actual competition, so it wasn't just stagnant roster updates every damn year.
Thank you.
Then, of course, 2006, 2007 rolls around, then, first, exclusive licensing becomes the order of the day, and then, oh, look, we're back to stagnation. But no, the early 2000s were the peak of sports simulation.
I'm not going to say this was an innovation of 2K because I'm not 100% sure it wasn't in other games. But I do remember you could control anybody on the field. So if you really wanted to play an offensive lineman,
Why
would you
used to
play-
do that? So,
funny, Jim loved playing offensive
Really?
lineman.
Why?
Apparently, you like to watch the screen a lot.
Yeah,
just,
thank you.
just a quick little thing about that. I used to play Madden with my dad all the time, and other games on the Dreamcast, but, God, he would just whoop my ass constantly, so I would deliberately, physically and emotionally, and I would just take the offensive line and then just split them apart, just so I could lose faster, so I didn't have to play with them anymore.
God.
Had enough.
I'm done.
That's
is-
pretty much how it
So
was.
is the Madden series full of completely unrelated commentary then?
Yes,
Yeah.
pretty much so.
Sometimes the offensive line is like a Yugo.
Something else though
I don't
about
know,
the Dreamcast that we haven't really talked about, and we'll talk about more maybe in the next episode, is the really good controllers. Most of the genuine Sega controller stuff is freaking brilliant. So one of the first big company brand, no, I wouldn't say that, but one of the better quality ones. I mean, this is when they started actually making really nice arcade quality stuff. Again, that was Sega's thing. It was the hardware. They knew how to make arcade hardware. They put out real arcades, real arcade games.
Not only that, but look at all the. I mean, you already have two fighting games right here, and they actually happen to be my favorite ones too.
Of course, Soul Calibur, dude.
Soul Calibur and Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
I think you're way overlooking
64
Power Stone.
player roster.
I know, which is
Character
freaking
roster.
unbelievable.
That is unbelievable.
So,
And you're ignoring
I like
Techromancer,
Power
which
Stone.
is freaking excellent.
Techromancer is one of the
You
best
guys
mech
are all
games
ignoring
you ever
Project
played.
Justice, but that's okay.
Oh, we'll get all right.
Is that a DC game?
No, Project Justice is a sequel
And
to
also-
Rival Schools.
I mean, Metal Geo Matrix.
Okay, so
Anyway,
all right,
let's
so
just
no. See,
There's
right
a lot
there,
of
with all the
great ones.
titles you guys just popped up, it had nothing to do with the releases. It really was marketing. I'm just gonna
Well, no,
reiterate
but
that
what I'm
point,
saying
'cause
is
you guys
I
just
had a
mentioned
heck of a
all
time.
these amazing titles.
Finding a decent RPG on the machine.
Grandia.
Skies of Arcadia.
Grandia and
Okay,
Grandia 2.
okay,
Skies
so
of
There's also
Arcadia.
now a PS2 release.
Alright,
it's
but then-
not good
but
when your
then-
system has one.
But then
Skies of
there's
Arcadia,
games.
the whole
Yeah, that is
series.
the only. Yeah, that was the only real exclusive franchise on the.
And it was
on-
good.
Yes,
It
no
was
doubt,
really
no doubt,
good.
Okay.
but-
But that's versus the PS2's like 50 of them. But
here's again.
That's
This is not really what the system was designed for. It was really designed as an arcade system.
well, storage is another
Sonic
problem.
the Hedgehog was not.
That's a big problem that it had.
Excuse me, Sonic
Right, it had
Adventures.
It didn't have as much storage as a
Right, yeah, it had to be
as a PlayStation 2.
You know?
Yeah, but well, actually, the VMU storage wasn't that much.
No,
smaller.
I'm talking about the actual disc storage.
Right.
Oh, disc storage. Yeah,
Yeah,
disc
DVD versus
CD.
Yeah,
Right.
that was a big deal.
It had a CD-ROM drive.
Yeah.
CD-ROM is just an overburned CD-ROM.
700
okay?
to 800 megs to versus the 2.
Oh, now you're
Right.
going to talk about.
You'd get.
Well,
And that makes a difference.
DVD, it's still,
That's why again it's easier to do arcade games
Single
on it.
order? Oh, yeah,
than
right.
adventure
Yeah,
games
yeah.
and
DVD
RPGs
four-
on it.
four
RPGs
DVD
need a
down.
lot
All right,
more
we got two
single
conversations
crosswalk.
going.
Motherfuckers.
Whatever.
Coming from Brian, it's kind of funny.
I was actually staying on the same
I was just
topic.
clarifying.
All right.
I have no idea what was said in that last.
So how about that local sports team?
Yeah, right. Hey.
No, again. So
about those Racine Raiders?
it goes back down to storage. You know, again, you can't really do an RPG. You can, but it's limited RPGs, especially at that time in gaming. So that's why.
And where were the tactic games and the, you know.
Oh, don't even start. And besides, nobody cared about those except
For
in
some
Japan.
reason-
Oh wait. Oh, I should have said that.
Arcade games are great
I love
for,
them,
you know, 5 minutes or when you have people over
But you see,
and that
that's
kind of thing.
the-
But it's not a sit down, I'm going to play
I don't-
games for the next
So
couple
I've had
hours.
this discussion. I don't sit down and play 200 hours worth of gaming. I like to sit down.
But back then, the average gamer was like 20 years old. They had time.
Yeah, well.
The average gamer is 30 to 40 now.
I was already, so, no.
But I mean, I'm saying the average gamer was in their late teens, early 20s at
Yeah.
that time.
How could that be?
At that time, yeah, but
At
now-
that time. Now,
How could
now
the
it's
average
30.
gamer be 30?
Yeah, I don't think. I think
Jonas,
you gotta
everybody at your
lower that
school
number
stopped
there
playing?
a little bit.
Because birth
He's
rates
a
have gone down.
35-year-old
No,
Algeria.
Birth rates went down for a good long time, and there's a lot more of us than there are of you.
Yeah.
And
Wait,
all of
there's
us
more-
grew up on gaming.
There's more millennials than they are baby
much
boomers.
as they say it is.
For now.
Yeah, but baby boomers are gone,
I'm
dude.
sorry.
They're 60.
Our numbers
What are you
are
talking
quite
about? That's not the demographic.
Right.
Hey, wait, but there's way more of them than the 100-year-olds.
No, but
That's great.
I would say millennials probably play a lot of games. Hey, guess what? There's a bunch of them here.
They do, but they don't buy shit. I'm talking demographically, not this room.
So they're just a bunch
They
of
all
thieves.
pirate them.
I do not. You shut your whore mouth.
Now,
that
that
parrot on
is
your
what I
shoulder?
hear. The real death of the Dreamcast was the
physical pirate.
the ease
No,
of which
it's
it
a
was
crock
That
pirated.
is a crock of shit.
They say that all the time when they lose.
Oh,
and
the
it's
piracy
bullshit.
is killing us. Bullshit.
Yeah, at least they bought a console. Oh, wait, you're losing money on that? Sorry.
There's
Yeah,
also been studies done that show that people who pirate actually spend more on media.
I agree.
Just saying.
You know something? Yeah. Even on the systems where I occasionally copy something, I spend a bitch load on
And seriously, that is
on
true.
games, on hardware, on everything. I invest in it. Basically, usually the stuff that I would get a copy of would be crap I wouldn't have purchased anyways.
I pirated
Yeah.
Tamper twice and bought it 5 times.
Exactly it.
I think you should get 2 carte blanche.
You know that is often the case. You know, in fact, you know, again, and the other thing is now I will replace discs that I had that have gotten too worn out because of scratches, whatever the case may be. I'll just burn them. Copy of it.
hell.
Yeah, they some of them have gone through hell, literally.
Or through Susie.
The other
same
thing is,
difference.
I think the whole piracy thing is a short-term thing. If you piss off 20-somethings, they may hate you when they're 30-something and have more money to spend on games, and when they're 40-something and have more money to spend on
Well,
games.
this all goes down to see how many of these games are around in 30 years like they are now.
Well, that's a totally different discussion that we're going to have one
Yes.
of these days because
In the retirement home.
they're really...
Oh yeah, well, you bet, man. We're gonna whip.
Cyber Bob and
here's-
Cyber Tom
Here's
are
my
going to have
thing.
some
I am
serious
gonna whip
thoughts.
out my Dreamcast in the retirement home and still be fucking playing.
He's
it.
gonna
Was
Sorry.
the question, was the Dreamcast one of the first systems that was easily case changeable?
No, well, it's-
Well, I think it's the first one that people started really modding. I'm
The
talking...
original PlayStation.
did
No,
they have a
they
lot of
didn't
mods?
mod
Yeah,
them.
they're-
Mods for that. Mods for that.
Mods.
Case
Yeah.
mods. Did they have
Case mods, yeah.
okay.
Everybody took out the gray shells and did the translucent
All right.
stuff, and
So, and
everyone
then-
bought
yeah.
mod chips and stuff.
Yeah, but I would say that was
No,
not
they-
the
they
first
started-
one.
Mod chips I can see, but you
no,
can...
no,
Well,
even
wait.
case mods.
Even case mods.
When I bought my first mod chip, there was so many aftermarket parts for the Sony
Yeah,
PlayStation.
I think the PlayStation was probably the first one that
I was
had a
just
lot of
telling an
aftermarket
anecdote.
stuff.
Yeah, it was the PlayStation.
Yeah.
That really gets
fair enough.
going.
I wasn't sure on that but I do remember that being a big thing in the Dreamcast
Yeah, but no, more so. I
community.
think you're right. More so on the.
I think
so on the
modding them.
PlayStation.
I think modding them to play pirated games was bigger in the PlayStation community.
But that's
only because you could just pirate them out of the box on the Dreamcast.
That doesn't start the myriad of aftermarket parts that there were for the PlayStation. I guarantee you I spent hours and days searching, like, because originally, basically, I bought a mod chip to play Dance Dance Revolution before it came to the States.
Yeah.
I was like, Mom, Dad, buy me this, there are all these cool cases, all this stuff. No, there's tons of stuff for the Sony PlayStation. The Dreamcast, it was hard to take apart. That, especially that case latch, a lot harder than the PlayStation. It was...
Yeah, it is.
I never found it hard to take apart.
Compared
to the PS, the PSX, it's quite a bit
I
harder.
never really had the urge to take my PlayStation apart because I had paid like a lot of money for it when it first came out. And I was like, screw this.
Yeah.
This magic box is staying here. And it was terrible, by the way. The first PlayStation models were prone to like all sorts of problems.
Really?
That's why you
Overheat problems.
Yeah,
every
the
new
first
The first one I had to run upside down.
Mine's
Yeah.
still running.
How many scoops?
Yeah, I remember. I remember you made a stand so you could play
I
it
didn't
upside
understand.
down.
I
it
just
was
used
terrible.
How many SKUs were there?
So,
for that?
okay, so something cool else about,
I
and
don't
again,
know.
going back to aftermarket hardware, this was something you could do on the Dreamcast. VGA out.
Oh, yeah.
And here's the thing. It recognized when you had a VGA connection on it and improved the graphics quality immensely. That goes back down to
Upscaling? Is there...
No, I don't think it's upscaling.
No, because some actually would not work. Some games actually did not
At
have
all.
coding in them
At
to work
all.
on the VGA box.
Right.
Really?
Soul Calibur did.
So this was one of the things that, again, this goes back down to
Yes, it did.
probably the
Hydro
arcade
Thunder did
hardware
not.
versus the home hardware. The arcade hardware probably had this built in,
Yeah.
so coders probably coded for it.
Yeah.
So games that could support it, and the difference is night and effing day. I mean, wow! You hook up one of these VGA output units.
And actually, if you look at this, that what I was talking about, where some did not code for, there we go, where some did not code for it, you can look on this and you can see that it actually does have a standard. It has a standard composite output, and the reason for that is you could switch. See, and you can switch between the modes if the game doesn't support it.
Yeah,
which is really awesome.
And again, it's amazing because the game.
That's a good one too. By
That
the
is
way.
a nice one. That's one of the early ones that was still when it was still in production.
I got the cheap cable one.
The Racket Boy one.
Piece of crap. Not the Racket Boy one. I got the rip off of that one.
Okay, I got the Racket Boy one. There was a guy called Racket Boy who made the most amazing VGA boxes. But this is actually during the time that the Dreamcast was still in production.
I think it's a worthwhile system. I mean, the fishing controller alone is worth it.
We will talk about that.
That's in the next
episode.
I mean, I think it's a worthwhile system. I just think it had problems. It's.
I would say if you're a retro collector, I think that's probably one of the first systems you should pick up. As far as the breadth of games that are available for it that are actually fun to a modern gamer, I think that it is really, really great that way.
They're different and they're cheap.
Yeah,
Yes.
Seaman,
Except-
killer IP.
Game prices have been rising dramatically in the past year and a half to 2 years. They've been just
But Dreamcast,
insane, but
comparatively,
getting a
still
Dreamcast
cheaper.
is $20
Right,
still.
even the hardware, exactly.
Yeah.
You can find them as cheap as $20. You'll pay $20 to $40 for a complete Dreamcast in good order, and that's really cheap to get into retro gaming.
Yeah. Even if the games will cost you an arm and a leg, some of them. But, the basics that are really good, you can get those cheap.
Yeah, because they made a bitch load of them anyway.
Yeah, I guess.
Everybody had them.
In fact,
was a good
exactly
game.
it.
In
Sonic
fact, if
was
you're
a good
really-
game.
Everyone had them. Why'd it fail?
Sonic was okay.
You shut your whore mouth.
No, like Rob said, they actually sold extremely well here in the States. That was not what killed it. Sega killed it.
Sega didn't kill it.
Sega's savage.
By the way, if you happen to be really poor and you need a crazy taxi, I just use them as Christmas tree ornaments now. I get them with every damn Dreamcast.
No, but if you do get Crazy Taxi just for the soundtrack.
Oh,
It is the
definitely.
soundtrack of the 90s.
And
Yeah.
Jack Red
AKA
Radio too.
just Offspring and Bad Religion.
Let's
Yeah,
be
but
honest.
that's all right. It's the
not
soundtrack
what
of
you
the
get.
90s.
Hey, it's better than the version you get on the Android.
Yes.
Sorry,
Yes.
or any
Yes.
other version
I
as
know.
well.
I was just,
Yeah, no,
quips and quips.
I
It's
love
got
the
jokes
quiz.
for days.
Well, we can't be funny here, and guys.
All right.
All right, so
Oh,
So-
fun all day long.
It's no, this is a dramatic podcast. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's a traumatic podcast.
traumatic.
This is G2B, the great.
Speaking of trauma, this episode of Guys, Games, and Beer is coming to an end. We recommend the Dreamcast. You need it. Watch the next episode, because guess what? There's more Dreamcast coming.
And this
Come visit us at www.guysgamesandbeer.net. Win free games on our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/guysgamesandbeer.